You guys ready?
Yes.
You sure?
It's
So
agreeable.
stop giggling here.
I know, we're having way too much fun.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I will tell them.
All right, it's approximately 5:02, and I'd like to start the meeting. Let's start with a call to order with roll call. Commissioners present, I'm Don Griffin.
Sue Scambolery.
David Walter.
Cindy Canarney.
Brandon Sure.
And staff present.
Alex Crowley, Economic and Sustainable Development.
Doris Sims with hand.
Christina Finley, hand department.
And I would like to add, as you notice, our illustrious controller, keeper of the money is not here. And so Jeff will be out of the office on medical leave for about 3 weeks. So he'll probably miss this one and the next Redevelopment Commission meeting. So we're just sending him a nice picture to say that.
Oh, that's what the
I was taking a picture of myself sitting in his seat.
Okay.
We're not letting his seat get cold while he's gone.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Boy, it doesn't take Boyd, not even gone a day.
I also told him I would be spending all his money while he was gone.
Yeah.
No, that'll be fun. I'm sure that's. Oh man. Did you say your name?
Yes,
Promise?
I promise.
Okay.
I'll say it again.
All right.
It's in the minutes.
Let's have the reading of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes for the meetings on September the 16th, 2019?
So moved.
Well, wait a minute.
To
What date
September-
did you say?
The
What
last
the
one.
heck?
You mean January 21st?
January 21st. You're right. I've got the
I was
wrong.
like, whoa.
I'm sorry. I've got my wrong notes.
Yeah, those notes are wrong.
I am so sorry, guys.
Delete those notes.
Let's
You
see.
still want to approve it?
24th I do.
Yeah,
This is
or
probably
21st,
it.
I mean.
Hold on.
21st. We're getting mixed up on
Boy, there
numbers.
goes
There we go.
January. Geez.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes for January 21st, 2020?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None. The motion carries. Hi.
Sorry I'm late. I was encountering people in the hallway.
Oh, we've got
Two
two
representatives.
members of
Two
the.
for one, I guess.
We're gonna switch on and off.
Yeah, just
Maybe.
for this first
Is
time.
somebody sitting here?
Yes.
Thank you, Larry.
Okay.
So you can sit.
No, I don't wanna sit next to Donald.
What's wrong with me?
Oh, he'll, I don't know. I'm kidding you. I love sitting next to you. I just don't think it's
You just
appropriate
do
for
a scoot around
for a
so long.
non-voter to sit there.
What?
I mean,
Okay.
we don't
all
get to
right.
vote.
I know you don't, but your input is paramount to everything that we're doing. So it's awesome.
So, I'm sorry, do you mind if we back up a little bit?
Yes,
and
please.
introduce-
I'm sorry.
You're fine.
And
Sue
introduce-
Wanzer.
Who is also.
And I know you.
So what we have here for
For the
our
camera.
audience, the community, we have two school board members. The school board gets a member, a non-voting member to be on the redevelopment commission, and they've gone ahead and decided to split the role. Right? Is that how we're doing it?
Right, maybe,
Yes. So this first one, we just decided, I think we had talked to us about us
Both
becoming
coming
both
in.
and then from here on out splitting.
Alternate
time,
between
yeah.
one or the other will
Okay.
be
but
here.
if it makes sense for people, I would be willing to do it all the time. I've changed some things in my life.
Well,
so-
we'll chat after
Well,
this.
then
Yeah.
you two can chat.
Thank you.
yeah.
Okay. All right. So, what's there? There's a motion for the January 21st, 2020 reading of the minutes.
Yeah.
And did we have a?
Second.
We got a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None. The motion carries. Examination of claims. Is there a motion to approve the claims register for January 24th, 2020?
I'll move, we approve claims.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None. The motion carries. Examination of payroll registers. Is there a motion to approve the payroll register for January 17th, 2020?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None. The motion carries. Next, we have report of officers and committees. Is there a director's report?
Now, since I have to talk during the public hearing, I'll just wait till then. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. Is there a legal report?
Not at this time, but I'm available to answer questions.
Okay. Is there a treasurer's report? Probably not.
No.
Jeff's not here.
Okay.
Playing the part of Jeff.
How about a CTP update report? I think there should be, right?
Well, yeah, so there's a couple things. One is I did want to talk about a change to the Trades District garage. I don't know if you want me to talk about that now or during the general discussion at the end.
Go for it. right now. We might as well get it. Let's hear it.
Okay, so I wanted to alert you, and I will pass these around for you to see. I only have 3 copies.
I'll peek over your shoulder.
Well, he did keep one.
Oh,
Peek
should have
into
kept
your
one.
brain.
Sorry.
That's okay. That's fine. They should have it.
3 copies.
So what you're looking at is a revised view of the Trades District garage elevations. And in particular, what I want to draw your attention to is the height of the sawtooth that is lower than the last time you saw it.
Yeah.
There are a couple of reasons for that. One is early discussions of the general height and massing of the building relative to the Showers building, which is right next door. People were wondering whether one might kind of overshadow the other. So there's a kind of relative height question that popped up. So actually, what you're seeing here is the sawtooth is at the same height now as the Showers building next door, but the garage goes up beyond the sawtooth, right? So it used to be that the sawtooth would go all the way up to the height of the garage, hide all of it, and now we've lowered it down to make it more at parity with the building next door. So there's the visual aspect of it. There's also a cost aspect, and so as we've been looking at the cost of the garage and doing some value engineering on it, there is a savings associated with reducing the height of this precast. The savings are both material savings, but also savings related to just the insulation of it. So those two benefits have motivated us to create this alternative view of the garage. Our plan is to take this to the Plan Commission. It's material enough of a change that we're gonna take it to the Plan Commission. That's scheduled for a March 9th meeting. Today was a filing for it. So we wanted to alert you of this change, have you comment on it if you'd like, but just at least be aware that we were pursuing that. And it hopefully you understand that it doesn't change the capacity of the garage. It doesn't change the solar, the bikes, all of the other benefits that come with the original resolution. But it does change the visual a little bit on the east and west elevations.
Alex, what's the difference in cost? You had mentioned that there's a
Well, it's
difference.
estimated right now, and this is a little fluid, but roughly speaking, it's a total savings of about $150,000, of which about $100 are related to materials, and then the other 40 to 50 or so with fabrication and installation.
Does Plan Commission have the final word?
They will have to approve it, yeah.
Do they have the final word, though?
Yes, after that, it's done.
Well, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, most people don't perceive anything above 2 stories anyway,
Yeah.
if they're walking down the street, and what's behind it in the background.
I think it actually looks more interesting now.
Well, it's more human scale, brings it down a little bit. That's a term they taught me in architecture school, human scale.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions on this? And that concrete's just exposed, right?
Yes.
The angle remains the same of the angled sawtooth. Is it the same?
Yeah, it's all the same. In terms of you mean the pitch of it?
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, all of that's the same.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So, is that all we have for the CTP right now, or you got anything else to tell us?
Well, a couple of other updates. So as you know, we had an event to sort of announce forward motion on the kiln. And that proposal has a number of things ahead of it, one of which is the historic preservation process. So we are looking at a introductory meeting of February 13th for that, and then the sort of formal reviews in the next couple of meetings afterwards. It's a bit of a change to the way the building currently looks, so I think we want to get with them early and talk them through what the plan is. So that's ahead of us for the kiln. The administration building, the listing was opened and then closed, and so we have a bunch of different proposals. We're evaluating those, and we will come to you with our recommendation for which one we believe makes the most sense, which should happen, my guess is, within the next 30 or so days. And then finally, the land and the making that land available. One of the things that we're figuring out is that, especially in the cases of developers who want to do smaller buildings, it's a little bit hard for them to wrap their brain around kind of wide open. We made the judgment that we just didn't want to subdivide it just to allow for the greatest amount of flexibility. But I think the downside of that is it's hard for someone who wants to put a relatively smaller building to say, I don't even know where I should put that, where it's possible to do that. So we are working right now on what we're calling a sales plat process, where we're kind of not officially replatting it, but we're overlaying kind of a subdivision view of what that might look like if we broke it up. And we'll use that as a way to simplify the evaluation and hopefully the transaction process for anybody interested in any of those lots.
So I'm visualizing a grid, and depending on how big someone wants a building, they can have one grid or one box or two boxes or three.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And and where those might be, so is there a part of the area that might be better suited to have smaller buildings, like maybe the frontage on 10th Street might be a good place, or the frontage on Maker Way, or so just working out where we want to try to guide people, and there's some interest in smaller development there, so that's part of what we want to see happen as well. We don't want just 4 big buildings or 3 big buildings necessarily.
Okay. Cool.
That's it.
Refresh my memory, what's the height maximum in the Trades District?
I believe it's. I'd have to go check, but I believe
think
it's
it's
4. It may be different on the west side of Rogers, but I think it's 4.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, let's move on to new business. Thank you for your reports, ladies and gentlemen. All right. The next item of business is Resolution 20-06, approval of the CDBG allocation recommendations.
So I'm going to point out that this is a public hearing, so we'll be opening it up as a public hearing for the allocation of recommendations of our community development block grant for our next fiscal year 2020. Included in your packet is the resolution for our new members of the Redevelopment Commission. So the City of Bloomington is eligible to receive funding from the Department of Housing and Urban Development under the Community Development Block Grant Program, or CDBG program. Right now, we don't know how much funding we will be allocated, so we use an estimate. The estimate number that we're using for this fiscal year is $800,000. 15% of the grant can be used to fund social service agencies. 20% of the grant can be used to fund admin costs to administer the grant, and the balance, 65%, can be used for what we call physical improvement projects, road and street projects, and housing projects. Of the $800,000 that we hope to allocate, $520,000 of it would be used for physical improvement projects, $120,000 for social service funding of social service agencies, and $160,000 for administration cost. The Citizens Advisory Committee met last month in January to review the proposals that were submitted for funding and make their allocation recommendations, which are included in the packet for you for review. We always have 2 members of this body who sits on the allocation process to provide any input that they may feel One of the members who was Eric Sandwich, who was part of the Physical Improvement Subcommittee. As you see, Mr. Sandwich is not here tonight, but he did send us a statement, and I think he included all the members of what he wanted to say about being part of the process and for us to read it in the record. So I'm going to read his response in the record. And then the other member was Dave Walter, and Dave sat on the Social Service Committee. So if Dave has any input after I read this, it says, I would like to confirm, this is from Commissioner Eric Sanders. I would like to confirm in this email that as the RDC's representative on the Physical Improvement Subcommittee of the CDBG Citizens Advisory Committee, I concur that the proposed grants, see Agenda Resolution 20-06, Exhibit A, represent worthy causes and that they reflect accurately the subcommittee's deliberations as it sought to allocate available funds as fairly and widely as possible. I will add that there's a possibility that once we know our final allocations, that we may receive more or less than the $800,000. So what you see is language that each of the committee has proposed that what we should do in case we receive overage or underage of what we estimate to be allocated through the respective subcommittees. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have, as well as if you want to make any response.
Well, and then likewise, I sat on these committees and we went through the recommendations and allocations, and what we have here in Exhibit B is what the committee approved moving forward with. And along with that is a note down here at the bottom as to how to distribute funds if we get more or less funding than what we expect.
Can I just ask a question? How many groups applied?
Do you mean
Those who,
agencies?
No, yeah, total.
oh,
Okay.
total?
'Cause I'm
Yeah.
guessing that all the agencies that applied didn't receive funding, or did everyone that applied receive funding?
So everyone on the physical improvement side, because what you see here is everyone who applied and the dollar amount that they requested, they received some form of funding. However, the social service agencies, I think all except one agency, all except two agencies received funding.
Yeah, there is an application process. Those who submit applications that are completely filled out and have the right attachments and stuff are considered. So we had on social service, 7 applicants and 5 received funding.
And so-
And part of that is that when we look at funding, it takes a certain dollar amount to make it worthwhile to run it through.
Sure.
You know, we could just give them $2,000, but that's really not enough to make an impact upon the agency. And it's more difficult to keep track of that money internally as well.
You know, while I'm at it, I should probably just combine these resolutions. 20-6, the approval of the CDBG allocation recommendations, as well as Resolution 20-07, approval of the BCTM addendum. Oh, no, never mind,
No,
never
that's
mind. No,
different.
I'm wrong, I'm sorry. I got off of it. I noticed we were doing the physical and the social.
Social service.
Okay.
But they're all already in
You already
one.
put it all in one thing.
One resolution, yeah.
My bad.
Could you talk a little more about the BHA accessibility upgrades? I'm glad to see that there.
Sure. So what they will actually be doing is provide accessibility ramps up into their units that for their seniors.
Any particular neighborhoods that are going to benefit from that? Or-
Well, up in the Bloomington Housing Authority, so it would be in what they call their Crestmont neighborhood.
Got it. Okay.
So it would be up near West 12th Street, West 11th, West Forston, where they have their housing authority, within the housing authority complex.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions in regards to Resolution 20-06 from the public? None? Okay.
So I would just add that once you approve your recommendations, they have already went to the mayor, then they will be forwarded to the city council for final consideration. And then once the city council votes and approves them, then we will prepare our application to submit to HUD.
Any motion?
I do.
Move approval of Resolution 2006.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None. The motion carries. The next item of business is Resolution 20-07, approval of the BCTM addendum. Is there anyone that wants to speak in regards to this? Not unless you're going to be quick. You could just, I'm teasing. Please.
Interpretive dance.
Well, it is theater. It's related to the theater. All right.
Aye.
But before we get with public, can we end the public hearing?
Yes. This has ended our, concludes our public portion of the Redevelopment Commission meeting. All right, now resolution.
Okay, thank you. I am Paula McDevitt. I'm the director of the Parks and Recreation Department. And I'm here this evening a little late, but in advance of, just for some background for members of the Redevelopment Commission. The city owns the Buzzkirk Chumley Theater, and we have since 2001. And at that time, going back in our history, we entered into a partnership agreement with what we call the Buzzkirk Chumley Theater Management. So in essence, they run the theater and we own it. They do get some financial support from the city, $55,000 that's in the council office, depending upon the parks budget. Year by year, whether we have some funds that we can put towards the maintenance of the building. And then the Redevelopment Commission has earmarked over the past several years, it's been a consistent $74,000 for any maintenance that is falls under redevelopment definition that is a significant improvement and has an economic impact in the community. So from time to time, we have to come to the Redevelopment Commission for those requests. So this is all outlined in about a 14-page partnership agreement that I make the rounds every year with the Parks Board, I come to the Redevelopment Commission and Public Works. And we've been following that time track very well for all those years since 2001. But in 2019, it was kind of a busy year for the Parks Department. And then BCTM, Danielle, resigned her position, so the board has been very, very busy trying to find her replacement. So we just kind of got out of sequence and really kind of ran out of time. So at legal's suggestion, we are bringing to you this evening the First Amendment to the partnership agreement, and it just allows us to keep the 2019 partnership agreement intact until I come back next month with the 2020 partnership agreement. So it's business as normal. We are working the city team. I should tell you there's an internal city team. A couple of people from the Parks Department, Alex Crowley, Sean Starowitz, Mary Catherine Carmichael, Larry, the controller, that we meet internally and get all of our ducks in a row for the partnership agreement. And then we'll be meeting with BCTM team and doing the final draft, and then we'll be bringing the 2020 agreement. So here this evening, just to get your approval, to keep us in working with the 2019 partnership agreement until we can get the new one for you.
Okay. Any questions in regards to Resolution 20-07 from the public? None. Okay. Now questions
sorry.
from the Redevelopment.
Will the
Commission.
2020 agreement be retroactive to January 1, or will it take up on March 2nd?
We probably have it effective, the execution date, whenever it's executed. So you'll notice from the extension agreement, the extension is until March 1st or until replaced by a new agreement. So that new agreement will start that day. If for some reason we look at the operational funds that were allocated by City Council and the Parks Department, and there was a need for those allocation funds to be retroactive to February or January, for instance, there wasn't sufficient funds in the 2019 agreement to cover those, we would consider making that retroactive. But we'd advise you either way.
Thank you.
Can you also tell me where the $74,000 number came from? Has that just been historical number or just based on anything in general?
As far as I know, it's just been a historical number that was dedicated. I think it shifted around from early days in the partnership. Paula may have a better.
As far as my involvement with it, it's been 74,000 for the past several years. And we haven't always used it. That definition is so tight that it hasn't been used. It depends on what the needs are.
Are there any significant changes to the agreement that are anticipated, or is it anticipated to be pretty similar to what's in place now?
Pretty similar, however, I'll go ahead and share. Since 2001, Parks has been the manager of the partnership agreement, and we have been in conversation with Alex's department to have what my responsibility has been all these years, have it shift to Alex. And then also in the partnership agreement, we have a liaison staff member from the city on the BCTM board. And for many years, it's been the Recreation Services Division Director for the Parks Department. And we would shift that responsibility to Sean Starwitz. It just, the work of the theater is more in line with what Alex's department does and Sean's work. Parks, we are very focused on the building, the structure itself, the maintenance part of it. And we will continue to do that through Dave Williams, our Operations Division Director, but just looking at the big picture, this just made better sense to us after all of these years. And after all of these years, it's not unusual that things have sort of shifted and changed. But other than that, I think that's about the main thing that we've talked about so far. And BCTM is aware that we're having these conversations and these thoughts.
Okay.
So we actually learned from the mill structure, which was really built on the lessons we had from the BCT. And one of the nice things about the way it's set up with the mill is it's pretty clear cut. There's a landlord function, and then there's a sort of everything else function. And so I think we're trying to replicate that a little bit in the BCT. There are a lot of landlord related issues that pop up. Those guys, the Parks is best to deal with that. They deal with it all the time. But how the BCT fits into the larger arts and culture landscape, what are the interdependencies it has with other organizations, all of that seems to fit maybe a little bit better under Sean and in our department because they, we have a little bit more of a holistic view of what that landscape looks like.
Okay. Any more questions? Can we have a motion?
I'll move approval of Resolution 20-8.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None. The motion carries. Last item of business is Resolution 20-08. Thank you so much, by the way.
So should the resolution been of 20-07?
I'm sorry, 2007. I
Okay.
was looking forward to the next one.
Thank you.
Public comment.
I did.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
So should we go back and?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank
I
you.
move adoption of 20-07.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None. The motion carries. If someone's looking at TV today, they're going to think like this is the first time we've ever done it. Like, isn't that cute? That new redevelopment commissioner. Yeah. They'll get it togetgether one day.
See what happens when Jeff's not here.
Yeah, right? Let's blame it on Jeff, right?
Don't encourage that.
You may be watching that.
Oh my gosh. All right, so last item of business is Resolution 20-08, approval of notice of offering for the RDC property.
Okay, so this notice is for 1730 South Walnut Street, formerly known as Night Moves property. This is an offering for the Redevelopment Commission, which owns that real estate, to offer it for sale. As you know, last year, we put out an RFI to get proposals for developers for the development of that property. We received 9 proposals. We whittled that down and invited 4 of those proposals to provide presentations. And we are actually doing a deeper dive into those proposals. But in order to work with any developer in developing that property into affordable housing, the property has to be offered for sale. And so that's what you have before you is the notice to sell that real estate. Is there anything else you want to add, Larry?
Just so the RDC purchased this property as part of its redevelopment plan to redevelop the area around Switchyard Park. This is right at the entrance, the Walnut Street entrance of Switchard Park. This is the legal process that the RDC has to follow. So first we obtain 2 independent appraisals of the property. The amount that's offered in the notice of the offering is the average of those 2 appraisals. And this will be published in the Herald Times on 2 consecutive weeks, beginning this Thursday, if approved by the RDC. It would be published this Thursday, and then the following Thursday. And then we would call a special meeting of the RDC the Thursday after that, which is February 20th, I believe, to open any kind of formal offers that we get for the parcel of land. There's actually 2 parcels included in this patch of land that has the same address. And then we would consider those proposals against what we were looking for, against also kind of some of the ideas that have been sussed out by the RFI to kind of give us a sense. And you'll see that the RFI and the offering is kind of similar in terms of we learned some things for the RFI, that was the purpose of it, and then included those in the notice of offering. And so we can evaluate those proposals formally following February 20th. In order to accept any proposal, the minimum amount that the RDC can accept on February 20th is the average of the 2 appraisals. Otherwise, we will have to wait 30 days, and then after that 30 days, we can negotiate to any price that's acceptable to this commission.
Hey, what is that price? I'm looking for it. Is it in here?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, I see, 677?
Is the average of the 2 appraisals that came.
Okay. What do we pay for it? 880? 850?
Doing it from memory, I think it was 800
I think it was 800.
is the number that I have in my mind, but I
I
can,
can recall.
yeah.
It's 800 something, wasn't it?
But I think if I can recall with one of the appraisals is that it has started to deteriorate since it's been vacant the last 30 days. I'm just telling you what I read.
What do you think? Do you think it deteriorated that way? I'm talking to him because he designed it.
I'm just,
I'm just teasing.
As long as it's
okay.
kept locked and secure and the heat on,
Yeah,
it should be
okay.
okay, because there's a sprinkler system in there. And you don't want it to freeze up. So,
Yeah, okay.
so I don't know, is the utilities still on? I don't think the utilities are on.
It's been winterized though, right? Well, probably not because we just want to tear it down, don't we?
Right, yeah, so I don't think we have any utilities on in the building. So it was dark, we
well,
starting to
pipes
have
are full of water.
mold.
You know what that is? That's still kind of low for 1.5 acres. But that's okay. You got,
Yeah, 1.5
That's not-
acres is
not my
a
job.
reasonable building.
all right. So,
Just another quick question.
800,000.
800,000.
The development standards on the notice of real estate for sale. So is it only for affordable housing, or are all these other purposes?
So actually,
That was something that was amended, that was my
Yeah, so
mistake,
that-
actually, on the original notice. I think there were 4 more general purposes.
Yeah.
And I apologize if that made it into the packet. What that's been amended to is to reflect the 4 development standards that are on the offering sheet. If you go down to the offering sheet, it has development standards where it talks about unit size and 10-year affordability
Yeah.
requirements. Those should have been mirrored in the notice, and there was just a disconnect there about the ones we were using, so those are now mirrored in the notice. So the notice that would be published would have those 4 requirements as opposed to what's currently in there. I
I was
apologize
just
for that
confused
mistake.
why they were
I meant to
different.
bring that up, and I
Yeah.
forgot to
yeah, I
to
read
mention
that.
that.
Thank you.
So we will
just-
amend the packet to include the correct notice of real estate for sale.
So as amended, as corrected?
Yes. Please, thank
So
you.
we strike these A, B, C, D.
Yeah, and
Correct.
they'll be replaced with the
Yeah.
ABCD.
From somewhere else.
Yeah, if you turn to the offering sheet, which is Exhibit B, and you can see those A, B, C, and D that are listed there. Those are the same ones that'll be put on the real estate notice for sale.
Does that make sense?
Okay.
Thank you for
look better to
clarifying
David.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Confusion reigns today.
And that was my question as well, so thank you for clarifying.
Any questions from the public in regards to Resolution 20-08? None. Any more questions in regards to this resolution from redevelopment commissioners?
I move approval of resolution 20-08
As corrected?
as corrected.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None. The motion carries.
And I just want to remind everybody, as we stated earlier, that we will be opening these bids on February the 20th at 5 p.m. So we will send you the notice, but if you can mark your calendars, we would appreciate it.
We try to coordinate that with, it is the date of the state of the city, which many of you will be interested in. This will not conflict with the state of the city, of course. You will be free to attend both, but this will occur just before.
There's everything going on that night.
State of the city's at 7, I think.
Okay.
If we don't have any new business, I'd like to adjourn the meeting.
Just one
Oh.
thing to note, not new business, but
Okay.
Sue asked earlier about the height standards in the trades district. And although typically the height standards for the downtown core overlay is 40 feet, in the trades district it has a special overlay, a technology park overlay, where the height maximum is 35 feet.
Thank you.
Be clear.
Okay. All right, meeting adjourned.